Hello and welcome to the Punished for Protecting Live broadcast with your host, Francesca Amato, national expert in the Americans with Disabilities Act, domestic violence and child abuse advocate, best-selling author, and founder of Punished for Protecting Incorporated. We welcome all of our viewers watching on Facebook via Punished for Protecting News and the CPS News Network. If you're watching on YouTube at Punish No More and Free to Protect, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. You can also find Punish for Protecting News on Rumble. Now, without further ado, here is your host, Francesca Amato.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being on with us live tonight. Punished for Protecting Live broadcast here on Facebook, on Punished No More and Free to Protect YouTube, also airing on the CPS News Network, Rumble, Punished for Protecting News as well. Tonight we have a story that everybody has been waiting for, and this is pretty much the continuation of the Sarah Stanley story and what's been happening in her case. And those of you that have followed this story already know that Sarah has endured great hardship through what the entity that we keep exposing, which is the family courts. And we just really appreciate you guys being here tonight. Please be sure to share. On the YouTube channel, it's really important that you guys like, share, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss these programs as we continue to air them. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring out my guest, Sarah Stanley. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Francesca. It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you. You and I, thankfully, have been in touch pretty much every day. We were in touch a lot while you were in Alabama. And for the viewers that don't understand what happened, maybe you'd like to kind of touch on a little bit of that. And then we kind of lost track a little bit when you were moved to Idaho. They really weren't following the ADA at all, which we'll talk about this night. And then what's happening now. So why don't you go ahead and say hello and maybe give a little intro of what you've been through.
Well, it's really good to be out of jail and to be in normal clothes. And if you have been following my story, I want to thank you for all your prayers and your support during these past 5 months. It has certainly meant a lot to me and my son, River. So I was arrested on April 29th, 2022, and my son, River, was ripped out of my arms by CPS, foster care, and the police. And my last memory of him is he is holding his arms out, screaming, "I want my mama back. Give me my mama back." And I have not heard or seen from him since. I do not know where he is. I believe we were on day 160. And this little boy, my son, River, had spent his entire life with me 24/7, no daycare. I was his full-time mother and caregiver. I was subsequently thrown in jail and spent 74 days in Alabama. Idaho dragged their feet to come extradite me. And after 74 days in Alabama, they extradited me on July 12th. And then spent another 56 days in Idaho. So I spent a total of 130 days in jail. It was a very interesting time. God got me through. That's the only way I survived. I have no criminal background. I don't even have a parking ticket. I, like to drink kombucha and filtered water and eat organic food. So it was very difficult. I was finally released on a plea agreement on September 6th. So I've been out a month. And I am thankful for my freedom on this side, even though I'm still not technically free. And we can kind of discuss what freedom really means in America here. I might not be in jail, but I'm still not fully free, as well as many other mothers and people across this country who are not fully free either. So jail was very interesting. God used me in jail, and I am, thankful for the testimony I was able to share with the women in there and to be a light. And I'm very happy to be out on this side. And, everybody keeps telling me I have, a calling on my life from God, and I am seeking his direction on what that is and how I can help be a voice to other mothers who have also lost their children to this system, and how we can really fight and bring freedom and restoration and forgiveness and healing to mothers and children, and to the abusers in this process. The abusers are not just, the other co-parents, but judges and attorneys who are so focused on destroying families. And we as a country need to come together for our children, not who has the most money or who has the most influence, who can manipulate the system the most. It really needs to be the interest of the children. And what happened in my case is it's simply egregious. And there was no due process. There was no evidence. They simply just took a child from his loving Christian mother away, and they're refusing to let me know where he is, if he's safe, who he is with, and praying for that whole situation.
I want to talk about, obviously I want to add some points to what's occurred here, because sorry for the dog in the background. I, obviously was very much a part of this case for you. And, for example, I can't help but recall exactly what happened one of the last days I think I was in court with you. Hold on one second. Okay, my apologies. The dog went a little bit crazy because there was like a thump or something, and she's this little tiny pug. She's gonna protect the whole world. This little tiny pug right here. So sorry about that. But one of the days, so we can kind of just catch people up that maybe are not aware of your story. But one of the final days in court, the judge, Cleve Colson, I was very, very surprised. I mean, so, there I am, as your ADA advocate. For anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's an Americans with Disability Act advocate. That means that there's some sort of psychological, and I'm not, saying anything, that she doesn't have like mental illness where it's like something is wrong with her. This is what happens when it's a trauma-based or trauma-induced psychological injury that occurs. Could be something like PTSD, could be anxiety. A lot of people just get anxiety just from having to go to court. It could be just for a traffic ticket and you get anxiety, and you have the right to have an ADA accommodation and an ADA advocate. So here I am approved. The judge lets me speak in the courtroom, and so on and so forth. And because I've been doing this for so many years, and I do this all over the country, I see the variations of judges, and the majority are extremely corrupt. But then I also have those that highly respect the ADA and appreciate my being there and want to stay in line and actually say, Miss Amato, did I do okay? I mean, they actually say that to me, Miss Amato, did I do okay? There's an equal rapport and respect. And that's what needs to be done, because a person shouldn't be treated the way you were treated. The way you were treated was absolutely, like you said, it's egregious. The way you were treated was just literally like a witch hunt. And the final day that I was there, which obviously we'll touch on that more, when you said, I need a trial, Your Honor, I need a trial. Now there you are, no assistance of counsel, it's just you. You've already been traumatized by previous acts in the relationship, so you've already had those issues. All you're trying to do is protect your son from things that they refuse to even look at, very serious matters. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, you want a trial? Okay, here you go, have a trial. it was like just like that. Like, we're going to throw you into a trial without an attorney, on the spot, without evidence, without your evidence ready before, because you were not prepared for a trial. I mean, attorneys take long periods of time to prepare for trial. And they just thought it was funny to throw you into trial right in front of me. So here I am witnessing this. And, and then the next thing I know, you have no witnesses to speak on your behalf, to speak. You didn't have a witness list. You were not prepared for trial. And Eddie just ruled from the bench and took away sole custody. It was like, just like that. And I know that that was very traumatizing to you. It was traumatizing to me just to watch them do this, like this whole joke, making a mockery of what's supposed to be a court system. So there's that. But let's go right before that. Right before that, he decides to open up a visit to this pretty much estranged father, and to open up this visit to a man that lives in another state, who is completely estranged from the child, and has a lifestyle that's not really proper for a child, especially a child that spent his entire life with mom. And then basically comes out of nowhere. It reminds me of like a cold clock, just came out of nowhere. And then he's got this visitation. So you are panicking because you're concerned for the child's well-being, and yet you're making the proper arrangements for this weekend visit. And you're contacting me the morning of, and I believe you had somebody there at the police station or wherever it was that you were supposed to do this exchange. And you're like, I'm going to be running late. And I guess you told the person that was there to please let them know I'm going to be running late. And
yeah, well, yeah, my son was 3 years old. He was still sleeping, and this exchange was supposed to be at 8 a.m. And of course, if we are truly putting children first, the judge would in this. And I also want to clarify for our listeners and the viewers is that this particular judge had only been on the case a week. He knew nothing about me. He knew nothing about the other party, knew none of the case history for the past 3+ years. What he has done is egregious, and God will hold him accountable for what he has done to me and my son. He will be eternally responsible for the harm he has caused me and my precious boy, River James. But my son was sleeping at 7:30 in the morning, and I notified my 2 witnesses to let the father know that my son was sleeping, and I was en route to the exchange. And the father became irate and made a fraudulent statement to his attorney and to the court. And here we are.
Yeah, and I remember he became so irate that he actually there were 2 grown men there that they were used to handling drug and child trafficking cartel, and they said that they were very concerned about his behavior. These are 2 people that deal with harsh people all the time at the border, and they were highly concerned. And I don't recall which one said it, but I heard one of them say, I wouldn't put a child in his care. Okay, so to hear that from somebody that's what they do for a living, that's very alarming to me. But of course, the court doesn't seem to care about that. So the next thing is that, like I said, the following time you showed up. Matter of fact, you showed up and he was already long gone. So now you tried to explain this to the court, but he has a ruthless, and I mean ruthless attorney. I've seen ruthless attorneys before, but somebody that's so it's unconscionable the way this woman acted. Not to even talk about the fact that the ADA was so violated. It was off the charts. And throwing you into a trial, like I said, you don't just throw somebody a trial on the spot. Okay, we'll have trial. Okay, sure, let's just have trial. I mean, this is just a kangaroo court anyway. So you guys want trial? Okay, let's just have trial. Next thing you know, I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't imagine, but the trauma you experience at that moment when he just gave him sole custody, just like that, a 3-year-old little boy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he gave sole custody again. He unconstitutionally stripped took away custody from a mother and gave it to an out-of-state boyfriend who has been estranged the majority of my child's life on an ex parte motion that was fraudulent. I'm not going to get into the specifics because this case is still ongoing, but it was a fraudulent ex parte motion that this judge signed. And ex partes are a violation of the 6th and 14th Amendment, I believe, definitely in the 14th Amendment. You have to give the other party due process. And I got none. I got my custody just, worked away on an ex parte on a written motion, which is unconstitutional. Never to mind the fact that family court is not a constitutional court to begin with. And there's so many issues. You have to, have a contract with the court, and they keep, forcing people into these, fake courts. That's why they're called kangaroo courts, because it's not a Article 3 court. So everything's illegal, and they do it by threat, force, coercion, and duress. They're not proper courts. It's not the people who make decisions for your children are the parents, not government officials. So yes, they trafficked my children. They trafficked me. And I'll let Francesca finish speaking, but I have a really interesting story on how a human trafficking point I made to one of the extradition officers when I was extradited. So I'll cover that little story in a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure the viewers would like to hear that. Well, I kind of wanted to go back, though. I wanted to kind of go back because, I mean, the majority of people, and obviously I have a huge following, but the majority of people that I've actually spoken to, they're also in support of you. I know in the area in which you live, it's a small town, and so you've had to deal with some people who just assume they know, and they're so wrong. And it actually kind of shocks me, because we've been exposing this for so long that I am actually kind of shocked that that there's actually anybody left out there that doesn't understand that family court is a mess. It's a disaster. It's not broken like they try to convince you. It is built. It's built to destroy the home. I mean, it's just built to destroy protective, loving, mostly mothers. Majority of these are mothers, but and good dads. And most importantly, and I've been just started talking about this recently. I was trying to get it up on my screen, but if you guys get a chance, go on Netflix. Go on Netflix and definitely go on Netflix. I don't know if you see this, and just make sure that you watch the program that's talking about Scientology, the documentary. Oh, sorry, there it goes. That's talking about Scientology, because it's the same thing as family court. It's no different. It's no different. So the cult that this multi-trillion-dollar Scientology business is, which is a cult, is no different. And I'm mentioning the word cult for a specific reason, Sarah, is no different than the cult of family court. And the brainwashing, because you have to understand, if you understood what happened with the whole Scientology L. Ron Hubbard, you'll definitely be able to. And I'm going to be doing some work with Danny, we talked earlier, CPS News Network, where I'm going to actually start extracting from that documentary and just matching it to family court and showing you guys how it works. They traffic these children through the L. Ron Hubbard Scientology. But here's an interesting point that literally blew my mind, because there's a huge correlation. And the parents that came in, these are intelligent people. These are a lot of really nice people. They had a heart for helping others. And that's how they build this whole Scientology thing. They had a heart for helping others. And a lot of these people have a lot of money too. So you got the Hollywood portion of it, and you've got the and then you've got like the lay person as well. But they literally handed their children over. I don't know if you're aware of this, Sarah. They handed their children over, and their primary caretaker, without any access to mom or dad, okay, was, guess who? L. Ron Hubbard. And these children literally lived on a ship with L. Ron Hubbard. Now, of course, anything goes, because then they were pedophiled, and it gets worse and worse and worse, which, like I said, I'm going to extract from the documentary, and I'm going to compare it to the family court and the CPS bogusness. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to actually prove to you how I've been calling it child trafficking for many years. I want to see the system abolished because it's evil. I don't know why I keep forgetting her last name, but Leah, who actually is the narrator and a very famous actress, it does this whole show on L. Ron Hubbard. This is the legitimate occult. Family court is a legitimate cult. CPS, okay, because of what they're actually doing in the guise of, and that's how a cult starts. It comes in a certain guise. It comes as a humanitarian effort. It comes as we're here to help you. It comes as we are child protective services. We're here to help you. You know, last night I showed another dead child, newborn, 6-week old. CPS failed to protect. It was very infuriating to me because I've got mothers like you, Sarah, who now you can't see your own son, but you've never had a parking ticket. You don't drink alcohol. You're not an alcoholic. You're not a drug addict. You don't do drugs. It's the same old song and dance, but a heavy drug using mother and father were handed back an infant and she's now dead. Okay. So the point is, and I've said this repeatedly, it is the opposite of normal. They do the reverse of what you should be doing. And it's very similar again to this whole Scientology thing or any other stuff that you see, that immediately when you report abuse, there's two things that they always say. And I know you can answer what that is. What are the two things that they call you when you report abuse? What are you? You are a, oh, you're muted. You are a
parental alienation.
Well, no. Two
No?
other things.
No.
We'll get on
Oh.
that too.
Okay.
You are a starts with an L.
I don't know.
A liar.
Oh, a liar. Yeah.
Well, you're a liar and you're crazy. You're a liar and you're crazy.
I'm too protective. I'm too protected of my child. Like how, like literally being a protective. So not to go off on a little tangent here, but what I've realized when I was in jail for 4.5 months and talking with other women in the jail is that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you protect your child, you're put in jail. And if you don't protect your child, you're put in jail. What are mothers supposed to do? And we have this whole Me Too movement on, believe that women have been raped and, sexually abused. We need to believe mothers in the court system. If a mother is speaking out and says, I have concerns about the child being in, the other parent's care, the court has an obligation to take that seriously, not just to switch custody and be like, we're just going to give it to the other person. They are doing irreparable harm to those children. When you break that family unit up, it's genocide. I mean, third world countries, when they have war going on, they don't even separate families because they know it's detrimental to the children. And what this American family court system, and I know there's other countries, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Canada, this is a global problem, but because I'm in the US, I'll just speak about the US because I'm familiar with that because I've experienced it now for 4 years, is that the court system, the cult system, doesn't want protective mothers. They don't want healthy, strong relationships with mothers and children, that healthy bond, because it doesn't feed their abuse cycle. So when you create trauma in children, they are more likely to become addicts. When they become addicts, then they get in the juvenile court system. Then they turn into the adult, juvenile, criminal system. And they turn into the adult criminal system. And then they are abusers to other women. And it creates this vicious, awful cycle. If the court system really wants to be a knight in shining armor and help children, they would stop this cycle of violence. And October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And there are so many groups on, Instagram right now that, we are just done with purple ribbons. Purple ribbon is the signal for raising domestic violence awareness. We are done with awareness. Children and women are being murdered and killed and also just isolated from each other every single day. This is a humanitarian problem that needs to stop, and we need to come together and say, no more. We know we have enough awareness. We need change from the top down. And children need to stop being taken away from their mothers. It's detrimental. Whether it's horrible. There are, scientific studies that have been done on children when they're taken away from their primary care giver, which is their mother, because the mother is the only biological person that has, been pregnant with them for approximately 40 weeks and has given birth. They have a very unique bond and attachment that is very different from a father. A father has a different bond. If they are a healthy father, they have a different bond with the children. And when you break that bond with the mother and the child, it just sets the child up for all kinds of irreparable, trauma, abuse, addiction, all horrible things. And there's a lot of blood on judges' hands, on attorneys' hands, on GAL's hands, on CPS. And if you are watching this and you are in the family court system, repent now. Like, your time is coming, whether you think it or not. And this needs to stop. You need to be on the side of truth and love and light and protecting children and mothers, particularly mothers, and stop being a part of this demonic system. If you are in this system and you are facilitating ripping children away from their primary attachment figure, which is the mother, just biologically, we've grown and birthed our children, you need to have a wake-up call, because God is real. Jesus will return. And if you think he won't, you're in for a rude awakening. And my call to every single one of us is that we need to repent, and we need to ask for forgiveness, and we need to fix this system spiritually as well as physically, because what is happening to our children, these are our future generations. And if we want violence to come down, if we want crime to come down, then family court needs to be abolished, because crime is increased when there's violence in the home, when there's trauma in the home, and the family court is responsible for decades of this violence and this crime happening, because they are taking children away from their safe primary caregivers, and it's wrong. God is not pleased. God will not be mocked, and justice will happen.
You're 100% right. And we're trumping this message over and over and over and over and over and over. Obviously I want to see this system completely abolished. I've been saying that for a number of years. It is completely an illegal system. And it is clearly, like I said, when I start to show this whole thing with the Scientology, it is the word is perfect. It's demonic, and because that's what it is. It's pure evil. And for those that are like somehow involved in the system itself, because I'm a private, I do not work for the courts in any way, shape, or form. That's why I do what I do. I don't get government grants, none of that nonsense. I don't owe anybody anything but to do the job that God called me to do, this particular job, and to help families, and to navigate through the abusive system itself, because first you're being abused by an abuser, and then you're being abused by a system on top of it, which is extremely scary to the person going through it and their children. I want to show these pictures, Sarah, because I was saying how I want to go back before this even took place, but we have some beautiful pictures of you and your son. And every time I show pictures of a mother and their child or children, it's always a picture. You have to go the opposite way. It's always a picture like what you see here: a well-dressed, happy, healthy, vibrant, thriving child. You have a beautiful mother. You're intelligent. Like I was saying before, no drugs, no alcohol, no criminal background. I mean, we were going over the paperwork of what's going on with the whole court thing right now, and we're laughing like, excuse me, I don't know what a gang is. I don't gang bang. I don't this is not for you. That you do not fit the mold. You do not fit the mold, and not even close to it. Like, not even just like another world. And this is what these are the mothers. These are the types of mothers that suffer this abuse. This is the types of mothers that suffer this abuse. You and your child have a normal, healthy, well-adjusted bond. Here's another. They say a picture's worth you and your child. Here's you and River. Okay. Again, big, bright smiles, bright child, healthy. I mean, you eat all organic, so super healthy and all that. Here's another picture. I just wanted to really show these because it just shows, I mean, the way he just looks at you, and I can always tell the difference when I see children in homes where they're being gaslit, where they're living with their abuser. You can see their eyes, you can see their countenance. This child, when you're sleeping, he's turned towards you. His safety net is there. Okay, it's very obvious to me. Lots of years of training, a lot of wisdom that comes from the Lord. It's clearly obvious. I think you just have to look at this, and it's clearly obvious. You do not remove them, like you said. They better repent, no question about that. And anybody that partakes in this system and doesn't do anything to fight against it, you need to repent too, because you are aiding and abetting this type of evil, this type of harm. And yes, you're also correct, because I've said this so many times, and I hate the word juvenile delinquent, but they're trying to produce juvenile delinquents because first they have you for a certain amount of years in the court, then they have you back a certain amount of years through like the teenage years when the children are going through all this, where they're tempted by drugs more than normal. Okay, they're being lied to that marijuana is okay, it's good, it's healthy, all this nonsense, because it's not. Obviously, like I always joke around, an organic apple is healthy, but don't smoke it. Okay. So yes, you can take, CBD oil and things that are healthy for you. They're undoubtedly healthy for you. But now when you're smoking it, that's a whole different thing. And that's an addiction issue. It's clearly an addiction issue. So, but that's what they're producing. And then worse drugs, cocaine, heroin, worse drugs, opioids, and ongoing. And then, having a horrendous addiction problem, because what you're really seeking is peace. What you're really seeking is to not have this trauma anymore, and that's why kids are gravitating towards this stuff. And, they try to blame it on the fatherless home, but there's nothing worse than a motherless home. And there's nothing worse than a father in a home that's abusive. Okay. A healthy, safe, and stable father is a wonderful thing, and God bless those families. And I pray that we see more and more of those healthy families. But there's nothing more terrifying to a child growing up in a home where the father is abusive and abusing the mother and abusing the children either directly or indirectly through proxy. So why don't you go ahead and touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And what I want to bring up to the listeners is domestic violence is not black and blue eyes. It's not bruises on their bodies. Certainly that's part of domestic violence, but domestic violence, there's a really good power wheel. Domestic violence, I like to say domestic abuse, because that's what it is power and control over another individual, which you can think of many situations that fit that description. The court system is power and control, abusive individuals, other entities, power and control. Whenever a individual or a organization has power and control over somebody else, their body, the way they think, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, controlling them, that is an abuse. That's an abuser. And so I want to make it very clear. It's just not raping somebody. It's just not sexual violence. It's not black and blue bruises, but it's psychological, it's financial, it's using the court system as a weapon. Anything, what I kind of like to, maybe dilute this down so people can realize what domestic abuse is. Anything short of love. If this is not an act of pure love, and God is love, if this is not an act from Jesus, it's power and control, it's abuse. And so when somebody, typically, since we're talking about family court, typically it's fathers in this case, they use, financial means to, isolate the mother before they have, abandoned the family. They use money also, post divorce or post separation as a weapon in court to, hire high powered attorneys to threaten to take your children away, threatening to take a child away from the mother based on no evidence, no witnesses, no collateral, just simply to put fear into the mother. That's an abuser. And that's exactly what my ex did. And he even told me, I have this recorded, that he takes me back to court because I am speaking the truth, that he is an abuser. And so that's why he takes me back to court. So, and this is another litmus test. No good, healthy father would ever take a child from their primary caregiver and the person that has given them life, has grown them in their body for, 40 weeks and given birth to them. No good father takes the child from the mother. And so a really quick action item for the courts, if a father is coming into court and is trying to petition the court to, take, sole custody, the mother can only have, visitation, and maybe not even that right off the bat, you're dealing with an abusive father. You should shut the court case down immediately, and the mother should have sole custody. That is the recommendation from professionals who have dealt with this, day in and year out. So that's a really good litmus test. And in my specific case, the father of my son had been estranged. He, has documented abandonment. Chose not to be in my child. Like, he doesn't even live in the same state. My child had never been in his dwelling, my child had lived every single night with me, spent every single night with me. And there was no evidence of anything, that I had never done anything wrong. I mean, my child was integrated into this community with sports activities. Like, this community knew us intimately. And they are devastated by what this court system has done to me and my son. When my friends in the community found out that I was, arrested and, River just ripped out of my arms, they cried. They cried because it was, this little boy was in this community his whole life. And that, the consequences of removing a child from not only his, his sole primary caregiver, his, loving, caring mother, but also his community, his sense of, his friends. I mean, there is no justification for what my ex did, what his attorney did, and what this judge did on this case. He had only been on the case 1 week. That is a gross negligence of any due process, of any due diligence. And my only hope at the thing that keeps me going is God is on the throne, and God will give them justice. I can't give them justice. That's not my place to do. But they will have you reap what you sow.
100%.
And these people have sown some very bad seeds, and they will absolutely reap what they sow. And so that gives me peace, gives me comfort in the midst of my grief. And I, of course, I pray for my son every day, obviously, and so many people are.
That's right.
But that is just a litmus test of, you cannot, you can't just rip a child away from their mother without any evidence. Like, I've never done drugs. I don't even know what a drug looks like. I don't even take Advil or Tylenol, let alone a prescription drug.
Right.
And that's the thing is, months ago, people were, people who did not know the facts of the case were like, bring River home, to like.
Well, hang on. Hold that thought, because it's going to cut you off in a second with an intermission. And I don't want that to happen, because I really want to emphasize what people thought and what some people thought. So we're going to talk about that when we come right back. But if any of you are going through this right now, please watch the intermission. We can help you. And Sarah's going to talk about the aspect of the people that, thought it was important to bring River home. It's a missing child. And we're going to really, really strongly talk about that when we come right back. But I'm also going to have Sarah talk about how Punish for Protecting has been there through this whole thing, and how we've helped you, and how, how the team has helped you, just right after this commercial break.
We'll be right back after a message from Punish for Protecting Incorporated. Each new generation of protective mothers is shocked when they first go to family court and find it doesn't favor single mothers and is willing to jeopardize children. Francesca's harrowing experience with the broken family court system, from which she finally received justice after 8 months of struggle, is proof that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Francesca has one of these unspeakably cruel cases and has responded by shining a large spotlight on widespread failures so other mothers won't be shocked. Punished for Protecting the Injustice System of Family Court by Francesca Amato Banfield, advocate, mother, whistleblower, founder, and TV talk show host of Punished for Protecting. If you are struggling with injustices wrought by our courts, this book will help guide you through the process. Available on Amazon.com. Search Punished for Protecting and get your copy today. Help abolish family court by purchasing Punished for Protecting merchandise. Here are our top sellers. See the link in the YouTube video description to find out how to get your Punished for Protecting t-shirt. Get your high-quality Punished for Protecting t-shirt while supplies last, and let everyone know that you stand for justice. Are you being re-victimized by the family court system? Do you need help with your case? Go online and book a talk with Francesca. Go to punished4beingAparent.com/book-a-talk. Fill in your name, email address, and message to Francesca. Someone will get back to you within 24 hours. Francesca and her staff of volunteers continue to work tirelessly every single day for parents and children who are in need of their help. There have been multiple success stories, including Francesca's, which gives hope to others in similar situations. Punished for Protecting Incorporated has incurred out-of-pocket expenses with zero funding to help families get their children back or to save their children from being taken. We also have provided funds to help with retainers, food, lodging, and travel. We really need your help so we can continue to provide our many services. Any amount is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to donate or sponsor a family in need of help, go to Cash App, Free the Children. And now back to our broadcast.
Okay, we are back. Thank you for that. Sarah, before you talk about that though, Cindy, who's an assistant producer on my show, actually did this video when you were in jail, okay? And she's talking about you, and she's actually talking about me because she's known me for over 30 years. I just want to show you this clip. I'm not sure if you got a chance to see it.
This is an urgent message about our children, and I'm sure everyone is aware about the child trafficking problem in this country and throughout the world. All I'm asking is if you see a missing child report and someone is frantic, sharing it, please share, just ask more questions. Say, what are the circumstances? How did this child go missing? And are they involved in a child custody battle? If they are involved in a child custody battle, I'm telling you right now, they are with the good, protective parent and they are fine. If you're sharing it, you are a part of the problem. If you don't think our family court system is a child trafficking system, along with CPS, and foster care, you need to wake up. I used to think that too. Oh, court wouldn't take a baby or a child away from a perfectly good parent. Until it happened to someone I really, really care a lot for. One of my best friends, I call her a sister. I've known her for 30 years. 30 years I've known her. A good Christian woman, a good mom. Nothing on her record, never did drugs, doesn't drink. And I saw it. And I couldn't believe it. And as well as I know her, and as much as I love her, and know that she's a great parent, my mind I couldn't understand it. She advocates for people all over the country, works tirelessly, often without pay, because she knows what is going on in our court system, our CPS, foster care. It's a legalized child trafficking system. Please just ask more questions. I found out about a woman who was thrown in jail this past weekend because she was trying to protect her child. Her worst nightmare has come true. She's in jail and she doesn't have her child, and he is with his abuser. Ask more questions. Don't believe everything you see. Wake up, open your eyes, and see what's going on.
It was a very powerful piece, and it was when you were in jail and she decided to do that video and it went viral. So, you really truly have the Punished for Protecting story. You really have that story, you and multitudes of women and children that are out there. And like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I took equally fathers and mothers. And oh my goodness, when it was through the family court, a short period later, with a lot of these fathers, and a very high percentage of them, their true colors showed. And, I realized that it's not family court. It's not about the fatherless home, like I was starting to believe, because in our belief system and what we're taught in church, we have to be very careful for the fatherless home. We believe that. We agree with that. Okay. We believe in the godly order of husband, wife, and children. We believe in that. You and I both very strongly believe in that. That is our moral foundation, but not when they're abusers. And why, for heaven's sake, would you ever separate mothers from their children? Why? And then again, like last night's live story, why would you hand that baby 6 weeks old back to a hardcore heroin using mom and dad? They were actually together, and it was horrific. And 6 weeks later, this child has been killed now, and I've got countless mothers that have no access to their own children, and like you. So that's why I wanted to show that, Sarah, because I wanted you to go ahead and talk about the help you've gotten from Punished for Protecting, because I want other mothers to know that we're here, and why it's so important. A lot of people are hiring advocates over attorneys, so you can talk about that. And also about people that didn't believe you, and now they're saying, wow. Please talk about that.
Well, yeah, let's see. Good questions. The first one I guess I want to touch on is, people who, have bashed me and who don't know the truth, who have been under the spell of an abuser's manipulative, fraudulent expose, and did not disclose the truth that his son had never ever lived with him. And people really ganged up on me. And again, I rest in the truth. One of the 4 agreements is don't let what other people say about you bother you. And as humans, that is hard, but I know the truth. All of my friends, all of River's friends, and God knows the truth. And so I can rest in the fact that God will give those people justice. And if you're one of the people that is watching this and you want to bash me, then you're going to have to take that up between you and God. And again, you sow what you reap. So if you're judging me, that judgment's going to come back on you. This is not about bashing the father of my child. This is about simply exposing family court and wanting my child to be safe with his mother. I have never prevented the father from not seeing his child. So I think that was out there. That is factually incorrect. If he wanted visits, those were facilitated. And it was about keeping my son safe. Each one of us has inalienable rights. We have human rights. We have God-given rights. And I'm a mother. No parent should lose their child. And if drug addicts are getting their children back, then why aren't Christian mothers, good mothers who have, only cared for their children, who have been in the community, being on, sports activities and, being a part of the community? I will also say this, me and my son were part of 2 address confidentiality state programs. And it's called ACP, and those programs, they have to vet you to be in that program. And so that already should give you the indication and the proof that we were both victims of domestic abuse by my son's father, as well as we were clients of 5 different domestic violence centers in these last 4 years. And all of them are mandated reporters. And if any of them, they saw us frequently, if any of them had any misgiving that I was, a danger to my son, that my son wasn't in a safe, stable home, if I just had, random men coming in and out, they would, if they had any misgiving that something was wrong with my parenting, my mothering, that River was in danger, they were mandated to report that. And in 4 years, not one of the 5 DV centers ever reported anything. So that should also give you pause to think that maybe the truth about the story is not what you have heard. And if you are a woman bashing another mother, I also caution you that it will come back on you. When you judge somebody else, that judgment comes back on you. So it's never right to bash somebody else. And I have been, careful to always give the facts of the case. And, my concern is always about my child. It's not to bash my ex. His actions were not appropriate. And this is simply about getting the family court to listen to protective mothers and stop, taking children away from their parent. It's just demonic at this point. That's simply where our country is at. So there's a whole bunch more I can say about that, but it was really hard to see people who knew nothing about me, nothing about my son, nothing about the situation, nothing about the abuse I have suffered endlessly, the abuse Francesca has seen me witness, the abuse many of my friends have seen me witness. There's a lot of evidence I have that I can't share right now, but that will be forthcoming in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. And I just pray that all of those who have, wrongly judged this situation, as well as other situations, that you do take the moment to repent and say, God, I've made a mistake. How can I assist these mothers and their children and help them be restored instead of perpetuating the false lies that are out there? Because you don't know all the facts of the case. And so I would just urge you to be very discerning in what you hear from the other side. If they are the abuser and they are spinning a certain story and they have a lot of money, they can buy media, they can buy posters in grocery stores of missing. The other thing is, how can a child be missing when he was in sports activities, like, that very day, the next day, when people saw him? There's no, to be missing, it means the parents don't know where their kids are. And so if the child is safe with their safe, healthy parent, as River was with me, that is not a missing child. That is a fraudulent statement. And the public was wrongly deceived that there was a missing child. Again, my child was in ski lessons that morning when these missing posters came up all across, the valley where I live in. That is not a missing child. And so the public was deceived. They were lied to. They were manipulated. And how do you feel about that? And so if you see other missing, wanted photos or Amber Alerts, just think twice, pray before you do anything, really get discernment and guidance for what's happening with that particular story. It is most likely, as Francesca said, a custody battle where the abuser is using a custody case against the mother. In terms of, punished for protecting in Francesca, I mean, I cannot thank her enough for her guidance and her support and the whole team of rallying around me and River, this entire year, especially in jail. Being in jail was very, very difficult, but I always had the support of Francesca and all of the team that I knew was behind me. It was very, I was pretty isolated in those facilities, so didn't know what was happening on the outside, but I always knew that, Francesca was praying for me and her team was, and that meant the world to me. And I guess I want to leave this on, a note of hope, is that this is not the end. This is only the beginning. And, children and mothers will be restored. God will make all things new again. And he will protect our babies. He will protect the mothers that are going through this. The truth will come out. And I think maybe part of my mission here is to help facilitate and speak out for the other children, for those who don't have voices. It's always kind of been my life goal from, ever since I can remember. Years ago, I was doing some media interviews. They would ask me some different questions like, what is your life purpose? And I said, this is kind of like my life goal is, how can I be a blessing to someone, somehow, some way? And I did that in jail. I am still doing it to this day. So no matter how vicious and how demonic another person wants to hurt me, whether that be my ex, whether that be his attorney, whether that be the judge, this court system that really wants to hurt me. And not to get too far off on that thought, but when a father, I use that word loosely because you can't be a good father and put the mother of your child in jail. That is not a good person. That is not an honest person. That is not somebody who wants the best for their child. No good father does that. And so that is another litmus test for you to kind of filter through of like, yeah, who puts the mother of their child who has gone through pregnancy and, labor and delivery and breastfed and nourished this child his entire life. And we're just going to, viciously attack her, slander her, defame her on social media, really mocking me, bashing me for things that should have never, been public to begin with. That's how you're dealing with an abuser. And I don't have to talk about the abuser's actions. He's doing it for me. So when he does these things, that just shows everybody else what an abuser looks like. And so if you see these similar patterns in other people, it's a red flag for you to pause, stop, and take a mental, break of like really what's going on. So, but back to Francesca and, punished for protecting. I'm very thankful. If you are a mother who needs help, I highly recommend that you get in touch with them to assist them on your case and to get the hope and to, bring their children home, to safe, loving, caring mothers and parents. They're safe, caring fathers as well. And, God will see us through. That is how I've made it through. And I guess if you don't know Jesus as your personal savior and you're going through this without Jesus, I highly recommend that you have a relationship with him immediately and you join his team so you can fight these spiritual battles along with us to bring your children home, to bring peace and love and hope and justice to this fallen world. And I highly recommend that you do that. If you have questions about that, I'm sure you can get in touch with me or Francesca to do that. I think I saw Hannah Rose ask a question of like, how can we help you? I mean, at this point, I'm just going to say, continue to pray for me and River is the best thing that we can do. I think maybe we'll do another interview at some point with some more tangible action items for people. But that's all I really have right now is to continue to pray for, deliverance of the situation and full restoration and protection and healing, and for our story not to be in vain, and for us to be able to use, this story, my sweet little boy who is, almost 4.5 years old, to go through this horrific experience, that it will be what the Bible says, what they meant for evil, God will turn it around for good. And that is one of the promises I stand on every single day.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for being a voice. And there's so much to this that we may have to come back again. We probably will come back again. But again, I want to just thank you so much for being here today and telling your story to those that are concerned, and those that maybe didn't understand and thought, oh, mom must have done something wrong, when we know clearly that's not the case. And thanks again for being here today. And everyone, thank you for watching today. And one of the things you can do is you can share these videos. By sharing these videos, you're literally getting the word out. And that's something that doesn't cost you a penny, just to go ahead and hit that share button and spread the word for those that may need help, or for those that want to just pray for all that we're doing, or just for those that need to be informed. They need to understand what's really going on. And thank you for that. We really do appreciate that. And for Facebook, I just want to say, everything that I have on here, any music or anything, I own the copyrights. And if I don't own the copyrights, the person that does is in the credits, and it was actually given permission to me. So stop muting my music. Thank you very much, everybody.